because I do 1,300 crunches and sit-ups 4 times a week.
What's a dose? Can you translate for us?
Winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Ernie Els.
Okay, so joined now by Mike Hollick. Mike, last time I saw you were about to tee off at the Kingsmead Stadium to play golf in the Kingsmead Cricket Stadium.
Yeah.
Obviously, your life changed massively that day because you got a hole-in-one in the food court hole, the concrete food court hole.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, since then, your life has taken a huge change. It was prepping you for your big moment 8 days ago.
I think so. Yeah.
But listen, thanks for joining us, and obviously massive congratulations, to you on last week, and everything that's followed. We've been obviously following you over the last couple of years quite closely.
Yeah.
So I think for us, it's been hugely rewarding to see an outcome like that. Just talk us through kind of the last 8 days and where your body is positioned relative to the Earth's surface, because I'm sure you haven't quite fully come down yet.
Yeah, after I won, I travelled back to Durban and decided to give the Scottish Open a miss, which is quite ironic because I had written into the DP World Tour about 2 weeks before that, because we went Italy and then Munich. And I said, guys, I'm playing in the Open. I would love the opportunity to play the Scottish. Could I get an invite? And they said they'll put me on the list for the invites. And then I got myself into the Scottish and then had to email them and say, listen, I need to withdraw from the tournament. So, yeah, it was an interesting one and definitely not something that I would have thought at the beginning of the season. If I got into a Rolex Series event, I'm going to say, listen, I'm not playing. But I think it was the right decision for me. Coming off such a big win, I just felt like I needed to go home, see my family, see my friends, just have a little bit of, I wouldn't say downtime as such. It was really, really busy back at home. But I just think going after winning and going and playing a huge event and then going straight to the Open from there, I think I would have been a little bit flat this week. There's a lot to do here before the tournament starts.
So just talk us through, and I want to talk a little bit about your win, but just talk us through those sort of moments, between after you win. And I saw a lot of social media stuff. It looks like as a winner, there's quite a bit that's expected of you, press conferences. Yeah. I saw you, hanging out with the volunteers and you still managed to then make it onto a plane that night back to South Africa?
Yeah. I was flying back quite late, but there is a lot to do after winning a tournament. They do a prize giving ceremony on the green. Then, I had to go and do like a Q&A thing with BMW's VIPs in the hospitality. Then they had a press conference afterwards, did that. And then they said, listen, the volunteers are all in their sort of section at the back of the hospitality thing. Would you mind going there and, just showing face and having a beer? And I ended up spending about an hour there with, it must have been 300 odd volunteers, taking a selfie and signing their accreditation, I think, for every one of them. And towards the end, a couple of them actually said to me, they said, no players ever spent this much time here with us. So, they were really grateful. And I just thought, at this point in my life, I'm old enough to realize what a privilege it is. I'm really, really grateful to be in the position that I am. My life has gone, full 360 in the last 4 years, golf-wise. And, those are the moments, it's not like something you wake up and go, I wish I can go and do that. But, when you're in the moment and you have the opportunity, I think you've got to just give your best and, give people the time that they deserve. And, at the end of it, they were so appreciative. So, yeah, still managed to make my flight. and got back to Durban on time, so all was good.
Yeah, and back home to a very happy family, I'm sure. And obviously managed to spend time with friends and family this last week. Sort of how's that been in terms of, obviously wanting to celebrate this massive achievement, but knowing you've also got, the Open Championship around the corner. Did you manage to balance in a little bit of practice, a little bit of social time? How was that?
I had Wednesday and Friday. I did a little bit of work on the range. I played on Thursday with the members at Mount Edgecombe and some of my mates, and then the club did a bit of a get together thing after the Thursday competition at the club. So I got to spend some time with the members, but it was awesome. It was busy, I must say. Like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I had appointments booked from 7:30 in the morning until the evening, which again it's tiring, and it's difficult to try and get it all done. But at the end of the day, people only want to do that stuff with winners in sport. So again, it's a privileged position to be in.
So Mike, just wanted a couple of questions. That final round, going into those last sort of 4 holes, you got to that 16th hole. I really wanted to ask you this question, and it was a short par 4, and I think it was playing probably the second easiest hole of the day, and you hit what I'm sure you would agree were 2 fairly pedestrian iron shots on that hole. And then followed it up with 2 of probably the best iron shots, that I've seen towards the end of a golf tournament. Just talk a little bit about how you managed to channel out that 16th hole and hit those 2 iron shots that you hit, which ultimately led to you winning.
Yeah. So the 16th hole it's quite a funny hole. And, before the week started, my caddy, Dave, he's caddied there numerous times, probably 20 times. And he said to me from the practice rounds, he said, there's a bunker in the middle of the fairway. He says, if you lay it short of that bunker, you've got a longer shot in. I think I hit an 8-iron in the second round into the green. But he said, from what he's seen over the years, it's the safest option. If you walk out of that hole with, 4 pars, you probably maybe gaining a few percentages of a shot on the field, which I did the first 2 days, laid it back short of the bunker. The problem was on the weekend they moved the tee box forward. So to hit it short of the bunker, you're probably hitting like an 8-iron short of it. And if you're going over the bunker, it's a 6 or a 5-iron. But it does narrow up quite a bit, and the tendency is always to err slightly to the left because there's water on the right, and anything sort of going over the right half of that bunker will track down towards the water. So, I mean, my tee shot on Sunday, I hit a 5-iron and pulled it a little bit, so it went a little bit further, and I had a decent lie, quite an easy shot to be honest, but out of the rough, I was kind of thinking it was going to pop up and leak a little bit to the right, and it actually came out pretty flat and towards the left. So it was just a poor shot, but I had from the Saturday, I genuinely had a sense of calm. I almost kind of went to bed on Saturday night knowing that I was going to win that golf tournament. That's just, the way I was thinking. I'd already decided that I was coming home on Sunday night. I wasn't going to go to Scotland. So I had a lot of self-belief, and I think I really backed myself. I knew that I would have to lose the tournament. And, as it turned out at the end, I almost played pretty well and didn't win the tournament. Henny played unbelievable golf on Sunday, and I managed to just do enough to nick it at the end.
And those sort of final 2 iron shots, was that just a case of like trusting that you generally been hitting your irons really well that week, because you pulled out 2? I mean, I don't know what your strokes gained on those 2 shots would have been, but it was a 2. I mean, that the 17th in particular was like a remarkable iron shot relative to the field. Yeah. Just talk us through that sort of those last 2 holes.
So, I mean, my iron play for the last few months has been really good. I was number 1 in strokes gained approach in Italy the week before. Didn't have a great week putting at all. And then in Munich, I was really good with the irons again and putted a bit better. But playing 17, I didn't really know what the scores were. I thought Henny was a couple shots ahead. So I was almost kind of going into those last 2 holes thinking, right, let's just, get the job done. And make sure we come second, because Bernd Wiesberger was playing with me, and I thought he was 1 or 2 shots behind me. So yeah, I mean, I had an incredible iron shot on 17 with a 5-iron, and I'd played that hole pretty well the whole week. I think I was actually played that hole in 2 under par for 4 rounds, which was really good. And then 18, again, hitting my tee shot, didn't know what the scores were, got up there, and I said to Dave, my caddy, can you find out what the scores are? I actually tried to look on my phone, but the app wouldn't load. And he asked the cameraman, and the cameraman said, you got to make birdie for a playoff or eagle to win. So, it kind of made my decision for the second shot quite easy. I just thought, well, we're having a go at it. And, I hit the perfect shot. It came out of that lie that I had incredibly well. The line was obviously good, and, it's just set up such a good opportunity to win the tournament with that putt.
I actually saw you on your phone, Mike. I actually saw that clip on TV, and I thought maybe you were just catching up on some of our Go Track content.
I wasn't going on Instagram or anything. I can assure you.
And between that putt dropping and sort of walking off the green, like what do you remember? Because that was a hell of a moment.
Yeah, I remember making the putt and, kind of believing I was going to make the putt before we got to the green. I said to my caddy, Dave, I said that putt's going in. I said, there's no ways I'm having a playoff. And, when I holed it, I took the ball out the hole, and obviously the realization set in of what had just happened. And I just remember having my sort of hands over my eyes, and I was quite emotional, but I was sort of taking in the noise of the crowd. I was really trying to be sort of present and in that moment, trying to really feel what it was all about. And then it was awesome of JC Ritchie and Casey and some of the other boys being around there to celebrate with me afterwards. It was really cool.
What I was surprised with, Mike, is that your voice sounded so calm, and then I think you sort of lifted your hand to wipe some of the champagne out your eyes, and your hands were shaking quite a lot, I think, during that sort of interview period. So yeah, obviously you must be quite a good poker player, because you sort of didn't betray much in your voice,
yeah.
But I think you could see the adrenaline pumping through you during that interview as well.
Yeah. No, listen, I mean, the adrenaline would have been pumping. There's no doubt about that. And, there's a story that Ian Poulter's old caddy told. It was a podcast or something like that. And I don't know if it was like Ryder Cup or it was a big event. And, he said Poulter never asked him for a line or anything, and they got on the last green, and he called his caddy over, and his caddy's thinking, she's like, this oak's asking me for a line, and he's got the most important putt of his career. And all Poulter wanted to say to him was, remember when we were kids and growing up and used to stand on the putting green and go, this putt's to win the Masters, or this putt's to win the Open. And the guy said, yeah, he says, well, this is that moment. Okay, now you can piss off. I'm going to hold the putt. And that's that's exactly what I did to Dave, my caddy. He came in next to me, and I said, these are the putts that we had when we were kids. I said, this is what I've wanted to do my whole life, is have a putt like this to win a big golf tournament. So it was a special moment. Yeah, it's such a mental game, this golf. There's certainly technical skill and ability and stuff, but so much of it is between the ears. It really is.
Yo, Mike, you're giving me goosebumps with that story. That's awesome, man. I actually I was so psyched when you made that putt. I was actually watching with my kids, and I mean, they to be fair, they didn't really know who you were, to be honest.
Yeah.
And but by the end, they were just as invested as I was. So it was.
Sure.
It was an awesome moment, highlight of golf watching year for me this year. But
yeah,
sort of transitioning now, Mike. I wanted to actually reach out to you before you had your win to see if you would be keen to chat before the Open, because
yes.
I know, obviously, and realistically, you've spoken about it before with us on the podcast. At your age, I suppose there were moments when you thought that you may never play, in an Open Championship.
Yeah, for sure.
And you find yourself there now. Obviously now, on the back of a win, but before that, just over these few months building up to the Open, sort of how much have you thought about being there and attending it and what it's going to be like, and kind of now that you're on the ground and I guess you've been on there, your feet down for about 24 hours there. Just talk us a little bit about what it means to you to be playing in one and what it's like on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I've had since December when I qualified for the event to sort of plan and think about it and everything, and it's always been such a exciting thing to look forward to. Like, 3 months ago, after maybe missing 3 or 4 cuts, when we had the sort of South African swing on the DP World Tour, I was getting a little bit frustrated and down because I'd missed a couple cuts by one shot, and I'm kind of thinking like, yes, you're wasting opportunities here that I should be doing well. And then I would think to myself, it's okay, we've got the Open coming up, we've got a major. It's exciting stuff to look forward to. And yeah, I mean, being here, it is. I've watched an Open Championship when I was a bit younger, but I played 18 holes today. Got in yesterday. Yesterday I did a little bit of practice, but it is absolutely insane for the lack of any other terminology. The whole setup of everything, the infrastructure that they have. Obviously, it's a iconic venue for the Open, but the magnitude of everything, the amount of effort and work and manpower that goes into to set up the Open Championship it's absolutely mind-blowing. They literally build structures purely for this tournament. I mean, we've got locker rooms that go on to wellness rooms, which go on to recovery rooms, which go into a gym, which go into a physio unit, all bigger and better than I've ever seen in any of the biggest events that I've played on the DP World Tour. And then on the other end of the golf course is this like massive village that they've built for all the fans. I mean, they're apparently expecting 400,000 fans through the gates this week, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, yeah, today was a Monday. The course was flooded with people. There's people everywhere watching, walking around, people on all the grandstands. And, for me, I'm really sucking up every opportunity I have to be present and, take it in. I was training this morning in the gym and, Jordan Spieth's training next to me and Brooks Koepka. It's special. I mean, today, Francesco Molinari came up to me and said, "Hey, Mike, well played last week. So awesome to see." So, awesome. These are all guys that I've watched for the last 10 years and kind of been in awe and never really pictured myself, but never really thought that I would be rubbing shoulders with these guys. So it really is it's a special journey that I've been on, and, so grateful to be here. I think it's going to be the most incredible week. Got my tee time today. I'm teeing off at 20 past 1 on Thursday. I'm playing with Padraig Harrington and Marco Penge.
Wow.
Padraig's won the Open twice. He won here in 2008, I think it was, at Birkdale. So yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I think it's going to be the most amazing week.
Mark, I saw that tee time come out, and I wanted to ask you because I mean, I almost suppose you'd prefer an earlier tee time to get out running, or would you prefer the afternoon tee time? I suppose there's weather dependent, but I mean, what are you going to do in the morning? I mean, you can't. How do you keep yourself occupied on a morning like?
Yeah, it's I usually get to the course about 3 hours before. I'll go and eat something, then I'll go and train. I'll go and do like 40 minutes of training. I'll have a shower, get changed, and then sort of start my warm up an hour before my tee time. But I'm very chuffed with the tee time I've got, because for first time qualifiers in the Open, you can sometimes be teeing off at 4:30 in the afternoon. So it can be brutal. You can have a seriously long day. So I've actually got a sort of prime time tee off. Yeah, and I've got a really nice draw and nice tee off time. So I think it sets up very well.
Do you watch some of the guys ahead? Would you watch some of the guys ahead of you to see how the course is playing, or do you sort of try and shut it out?
No, I think I'll watch. When we played Australia earlier in the year, the Aussie Open, I watched Rory and them play in the morning because I was teeing off late in the afternoon, and I think it's such a good way to have a sort of a free look and see what's going on. You can see how the balls are reacting. You can see sort of what clubs and lines they're taking. See how the greens are with putting. So yeah, I'll definitely click over and watch for a few hours and see what's going on there.
And did you get out today? Did you get a couple of? I mean, obviously you got some
I played
holes
18
in.
holes. Yeah,
you got 18. Okay, I know Terence
I got
mentioned that
18
you were going to
today.
get 9. So give us some thoughts. I mean, how's the course playing? What was your sort of feeling on the course and how everything, the conditions?
Yeah, the course is firm and fast. It is, Matthew Baldwin's he's a long-time member here, and he said to me he's never seen the course play like this before. So it's super, super firm. It's very quick. I had a few 4-irons today off the tees that were going like 290 yards. So there is a big premium on hitting it straight. I think taking a bit of distance off on the tee boxes and getting it in the fairway is very important. I think for me personally, I'd rather be hitting an 8-iron into a green than like from the fairway than hitting a sandwich out of the rough.
I heard someone today. Sorry, Mike. I heard someone today describe links golf as the ability to navigate a golf hole without hitting it into a bunker. How much is that challenge prevalent at Birkdale? Obviously, all these courses have a lot of bunker traps. But how much does that play in with strategy around your tee shots when the ball's rolling out so much?
Yeah, so I think for me, I mean, this is my first time seeing Birkdale, so, I might have missed a few things, but the bunkers, listen, you don't want to go in the bunkers, there's no doubt about that, but for me, I think the bunkers are not as penal as, say, St Andrews or Carnoustie, but in saying that, you don't have much hope out of these bunkers. So again, if there's a bunker at sort of 260 and 300, you're better off hitting it 240, I think, and hitting an iron shot into the green from the fairway. Yeah, I think that's the way to go around this course. The rough is thick, it's long. There's patches where it's pretty nasty. There's other patches where you'll be able to hit it out of, but the fairways, that's where you got to be, no doubt about it.
Just don't try and hit the same distance as Marco Penge off the tee.
No, or Harrington.
Might be a trap to fall in.
Harrington's bombing it these days. He is like, I've seen him at a couple of events. He gives it a proper rip. Yeah.
Mike, was there any holes out there that were there any holes out there that you thought this is a hole that's going to catch a lot of people, just in terms of how it's playing, particularly with the firm and fast? Okay.
The par threes for sure. Like the par threes are all really, really strong. The newly designed 15th hole today, I was playing the Sean Norris. I mean, we both hit 2 irons into that hole, and that's sort of trying to hit a low 2 iron and pitch it short of the green and run it up, sort of thing. So it's par threes are strong. I mean, the 18th hole is a strong hole. I hit a mini driver today off the tee and a 2 iron into the middle of the green. So if you're going up that hole and you've got to make a par to win the golf tournament, it's not going to be easy.
Well, you've proven to yourself that you can rise to these tough moments. So, like, just finally, kind of letting you go here, Mike.
Yeah.
Sort of how are you going to balance kind of absorbing your first Open Championship with also going in there, going, I've got a winner's mindset. I can finish on the podium here. I can finish in the top 10.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have that belief with the way you're playing.
Absolutely. I've had a good last 4 years. I've won consistently. I've had good finishes consistently. So, I'm not teeing it up here just to make up the numbers and have a nice week. I want to do well. I want to obviously experience everything. But I don't think there's any better way to experience it other than having a really good week, having a couple late tee times on the weekend. That's what we want to do. 39 years old, rookie on the DP World Tour. I think, getting in the mix in a major and potentially winning a major would be quite a story.
Well, we are definitely here for that, Mike. And listen, I want to just say big thanks for your time. Obviously, you've had a lot of pressure for your time the last 8 days, and
no worries.
Really, always appreciate you engaging with Go Track. And
no problem.
Hopefully, catch you for a round of golf when you're back, so we can hear some stories of the late tee off times on Saturday and Sunday at Birkdale. So we're going to be
100%.
We're going to be shouting for you on the weekend, bud.
Awesome, thanks guys, I appreciate it.
Good luck, Mike.
Have a great one, man.
Yeah, thanks guys. We'll chat after the week
for sure.